All right, so in the first lecture, we covered the differences and the benefits of wholesale dropshipping, and I kind of introduced you to the business model and how it's, very similar, but also has its differences to retail dropshipping on Amazon, right? In this lecture, I want to cover how to vet wholesale suppliers so you can make sure that the wholesale suppliers or the companies that you're signing up for are actually good. They have good products, they're companies you want to work with, they have obviously do quality assurance, et cetera, right? So, how can you vet wholesale suppliers, right? The key thing to understand is most people believe that, like, okay, all wholesale companies are created equal, right? But all wholesale companies and websites claiming to be wholesale suppliers or claiming to be wholesale distributors are not created equal at all right? Just because a company claims to be a wholesale company or claims to have wholesale prices, do not take that at face value, okay? Often you will find wholesale suppliers, often you will find distributors, often you will find, brands specifically when you're doing your research. But there are also companies out there that pose as wholesale companies and just try to act as a middleman, like a retailer as well, and mark the prices up for you, right? And so it's okay if, this scares you a little bit. It shouldn't, it's just something to be wary and understand is out there, right? Always do your due diligence to make sure that you're signing up and purchasing from a legitimate wholesale company. And here's how, all right? I'm going to give you literally the specific things to look for, how you can obviously vet them. So if this scares you, it's totally fine, not a big deal. Just understand that they're out there, all right? So here are some things to consider, to determine if the supplier that you're looking at and looking to sign up with is a legitimate wholesale distributor or not, all right? So if they meet all these criteria, then they're fine. Sign up with them, and I'm going to show you the exact process here in this lecture, right? So first and foremost, you want to ask, do they have any minimum order quantity, right? Or MOQ as it's often abbreviated, right? This is the first thing you want to look for. Do they have minimum order quantities, okay? Now, typically you can find this on their website. If you can't find it on their website in like the frequently asked questions section or any of their information sections, then eventually you can obviously reach out after you sign up through email. But typically you'll see this on the website, right? This is the first thing you want to look for. Now, if they have a minimum order quantity more than one, meaning you have to purchase more than one product for them to actually, obviously sell to you, then you don't want to move forward with that supplier because it defeats the whole purpose of drop shipping, because you can't drop ship any orders that, are single orders or anything like that, right? Often wholesale companies, like, and this is, typical for when you're doing wholesale in like Amazon FBA, which is a different business model than like wholesale drop shipping. Often companies will have minimum order quantities of like 50 or 100 or even more. Sometimes it's low to like 6, or even if it's low and it's like 3, right? It's still not a company you want to work with because you have to order 3 units and ship them to the customer every time, and often you're going to be getting single orders with a quantity of 1, right? So if they have a minimum order quantity more than 1, any number more than 1, then avoid that supplier. You don't want to sign up with them because it defeats the entire purpose, right? Now, if they do have a minimum order, if they do not have a minimum order quantity, which means you are able to purchase 1 item at a time from them, then that's a good thing, right? Then that checks off the first box, and it also indicates that they most likely allow drop shipping, or as I like to call it, order fulfillment, right? It's the same thing basically. So that leads me to point number 2. Assuming that you find out that they have no minimum order quantity, you want to make sure that they also allow drop shipping, okay? And again, if they don't have any minimum order quantity, or you can't find anything about drop shipping, or you can't find any MOQ information on the website, then you do want to sign up and then ask them through email. We're going to cover, emailing and how to ask these things in email templates in a later lecture, so don't worry about that. But 2 things that you can typically find on their website before you even sign up to save you time from waiting, going through the sign up process, waiting until you're accepted, and then having to reach out to them. You can also obviously find their email on their website and ask them this directly if you want. Again, more email templates coming, no big deal, right? So assuming that they don't have an MOQ and you are able to purchase 1 item at a time from them, the next thing you want to ask is, okay, do they allow drop shipping, right? Now, again, typically they'll have this on their website somewhere, so you want to look in the frequently asked questions section or any of their information sections. Now, if not, you can always ask and email them, like I said. And again, I'm going to give you the entire template here. I like to ask if they offer order fulfillment. I don't like to ask if they allow drop shipping. It is the same thing as drop shipping, obviously, but one sounds more professional and will certainly come off better, all right? Now, obviously, if they have MOQs or if they don't offer drop shipping or order fulfillment, then you don't want to use that company because it defeats the entire purpose of the business model that we're trying to sign up for, right? Now, some things to consider, obviously, some other things to consider. Those are the 2 main ones, right? Assuming those things, because this is kind of the sequence you want to go through, assuming those things check off, they don't have any MOQs and they allow drop shipping or order, and they do order fulfillment, obviously, then the next thing you want to do is to make sure is, are you able to resell their products on marketplaces? Okay. Now, again, this is after you sign up, and this can be explained in an email, or, if you are emailing them about MOQs or are emailing them about, do they allow drop shipping or order fulfillment, you can also add this question. Again, more templates to come in a future lecture. You can add this question into that same email if you haven't signed up yet. Okay. But this can obviously be explained in an email. So, once you sign up, assuming that they, you go through the process, you figure out that they do allow drop shipping, they don't have any MOQs. The next thing you want to do is email them and ask, are you able to resell their products on marketplaces, right? So you can explain this in an email very easily and very professionally, which is obviously your intentions to resell their products on marketplaces like Amazon. More coming again, like I said, but typically speaking, a lot of them, if they already passed the first two check marks, meaning there's no MOQs and they allow drop shipping, then clearly most of them, not all, this isn't always the case, but most people, or most wholesale suppliers, if they check off the first two boxes, this will also be the case as well, right? But you always want to make sure, you don't just want to assume. Now, the next thing is, do they have quality, profitable products, right? Now, I'm going to show you this again in a future lecture. We're just covering the entire process here so you understand how it goes A to Z, and then I'll show you each individual, obviously, like step and letter along the way, right? So you'll typically get their products in a CSV or an Excel file or a product catalog, as they call them, right? There are many names for them, but typically you'll see like product catalog or, roster or something like that. And then you want to put their products into Scan Unlimited, which is a software that I will teach you how to use to see if they're profitable. Basically, what Scan Unlimited does is it compares product catalogs of names, UPCs, ASINs, product identifiers, and finds those products on Amazon so that you can look more in depth with them. So, for example, if you get a product catalog from a wholesale supplier that has 20,000 products, there's no possible way that you can sort through that manually and, figure out what products are profitable, right? Why would you ever want to do that? It would take you months, right? So what we do is we put it into Scan Unlimited. We set the parameters. Like I said, I will show you how to do this. There's many tutorials coming. And then it will spit us out maybe 50 products that look promising that we can look into and potentially add to our collection if we like them, right? So then you want to obviously put, like I said, the products into their product catalog into Scan Unlimited to see if they're profitable. And then, once you find out which ones are profitable, then you can obviously add them to your catalog, and, more on that to come, right? So another thing to consider is, do they charge shipping on every order? These last two things here are things that people often overlook. Do they charge shipping on every order? Is it variable shipping rates depending on how big it is or how many you order? If so, how much? How's it calculated? Is it a standard shipping rate? Like, these are all questions that you should answer and ask in either an email or find on the website, right? Again, typically you can find these on the website. And another thing is, what is their return policy? There have been great suppliers that I've reached out to before, not so much when I was doing wholesale drop shipping like now, but in the past when I used to order bulk and ship it into FBA. Like, there were plenty of suppliers that I found that were great suppliers, but they had garbage return policies. And, on Amazon, you need to honor returns realistically within 30 days, but honestly, it's sometimes longer than that. Sometimes you have like that one-off buyer that's trying to return something 45 days later. And so you want to, most of the time, honor those returns on Amazon to keep the customer happy and protect your metrics. That's a completely different topic. But the key here is, if, like, let's say hypothetically you find a great wholesale supplier and every single other thing checks off, but their return policy is no returns, you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And only you can answer that question. It's going to depend on the products that they have and what your risk tolerance is, right? So you could test them for a little bit, but obviously the better their return policy, the better for you, obviously, because you want accountability on the supplier for the products that they have. And this is just like something to add in there to be wary of and understand that, you want to check these boxes off, but most good wholesale suppliers obviously will have a decent return policy. All right. But just understand, these are all things that you want to check off. All right. Now, assuming that they check off the first two boxes, the minimum order quantity, and they do allow drop shipping, then you obviously want to sign up for the wholesale supplier and then email them about the next two, right? Like, are you able to resell, get their product catalog? And then assuming that you get the okay on both of those and receive the product CSV, then obviously, like I said before, you want to run it through Scan Unlimited to see if they're profitable. Then once you find some profitable products that look good that you're able to sell, just like I went over in the retail module, right? So it's the same process there with the same type of stuff. Just now you're using wholesale suppliers products instead of a retail supplier. Okay. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, go back, rewatch all that stuff. I put it in depth in that actual section of the first part of the retail one, right? But again, then you just want to list those, right? And wait for orders and then process the orders on the site like you would with normal retail suppliers, like I showed you before, right? And again, make sure that you add the products that you're adding to your Amazon inventory. Like, don't forget the step about adding them to your active product sheet, because you want to have a source file of all your active Amazon products. Again, like I showed you in the retail dropshipping module of this course, you want to have a spreadsheet showing all your active Amazon products and the URL where you can source it from, so that when you get an order, you know what URL to go back to, what company to go back to actually purchase that product, right? And that's all of that in a nutshell. So that's how you kind of vet wholesale suppliers, and those are the key things to look for in sequence.